Hello, everybody. I wanted to go ahead and share with you three AI tools that I have been using religiously this year that have helped me greatly save time on lesson plan, prep, and even communications. Before we get started, I want to go ahead and start with two very important pieces of information to keep in mind while we are going through and using AI. First, for student privacy issues, we never want to include the student's name or initials. Because AI is self learning, most of these tools will go ahead and store that information for future reference. The second piece of information, when utilizing these tools, it's important to keep in mind that they are fallible. I've created prompts for library and kindergarten music where the information isn't quite right. There's a subtle nuance that the AI misses. So it's very important to still go through whatever it generates and not only make it your own, but make sure that it's accurate. So just keep those two pieces of information in mind as we go forward. And we'll go ahead and we'll dive into the first one of the three, and it is Eduaide.ai. All of these are very straightforward and are going to take more of you perusing them. So I'm not going to do too much in depth. I'll probably do one walkthrough for each tool so you can just kind of get the gist of it. So this first one, if we go to the top left-hand corner, we have these double arrows. This will create our toolbar on the side that we can see a little bit better. And these are the different sections of EduAI: content generator, assistance, feedback bot, EduAid chat, and the assessment builder. Most of these are pretty self-explanatory, but let's go through them a little slower. Content generator. This is where you can have it create different types of content for your classrooms. It will ask for the subject. And note, this is mostly your general ed topics. For library and for music, I have used enrichment or career and technical training, and it still seems to be able to figure out how to do that in the best way possible for me. Um, you can go ahead and click grade and select the grade that is appropriate for the material you're wanting. And then you have your different types of resources. Planning, these are just a whole bunch of different things that you can utilize. I use predominantly the lesson seed, the unit plan, and the rubric, as well as the 5 E's. Those are my top ones that I use. And the rubric, I've only used once, but oh my goodness, I love it. It puts it into a chart for you. It's great. You can export it. It's very nice. But yeah, basically what you would end up doing is selecting whichever one it is that you want. And then down below, you'll give it the topic or the prompt. So we'll go plant life cycle. That's not very elaborate, so I can click the enhance and it's going to write that prompt so that it sounds a little bit more professional and maybe gives it a little bit more of what the AI might need in order to make a really well-rounded material for me. Once I have gone ahead and selected what I want, I'm going to go with the lesson plan 5 E's. That's my favorite. I'm going to go ahead and click add to workspace, and it's going to generate that document for me. And it's wonderful because it outlines it very nice, very clear and concisely, grade, unit, duration, all of that vocabulary. I love this part. We use this a lot in TEALS. So it's nice that it's a separate section in a lot of the lesson planning that these AIs do. And then it'll go through and break it down how I need it. It's wonderful. I love it. If we get to the bottom, a lot of these also, have pairs. And what that does is it has material that it will create based on this prompt that will go hand in hand with it really nicely. So it's also kind of thinking ahead to, okay, we may have included some kind of activity. Why don't I create that for you? It's really nice. I like that element of it. Minimize that to get it out of our way. The other types of resources you have are informational objects. So anchor charts, slides, it's wonderful. Again, just type that prompt and it will outline it brilliantly. Independent practice. Haven't got a chance to use a lot of these. Cooperative learning, things they can do together. And then this last one's kind of cut off, but it's gamification. And how can it take the prompt that we've given it and make it more of like a game for them? I used this with my third, fourth graders to create an escape room using a totally different third-party app called Genially. It was great. And it was a nice way to incorporate AI into a gamification lesson. We're going to move on to Assistant. And this one is more for like communication, stuff like that. I've used this. I'm going to out myself really bad here. I used this to create my newsletter article. So I can go ahead and I can select which one it is that I want. I can add a prompt and then I can add to workspace. Some of the other categories that you have for this teaching assistant is accessibility. This one is really helpful, especially for our SPED directors for creating IEP outlines. The one that I have utilized is behavioral intervention plan. This is one where it's really important to remember not to include student names. And then the last one in this section is wellness. This one is a bunch of like SEL icebreaker kind of mindfulness things that, again, I haven't got a chance to utilize, but could be very helpful, especially on the middle school, high school end of the buildings. Moving on to the next one, we have our feedback bot. I have not done a great deal of work with this one, so I'm going to glaze over it. The EduChat, this is where you can just kind of brainstorm and chat with a AI. The last one is the assessment builder, which is kind of self-explanatory. It allows you to go through and create an assessment on a topic or a specific standard by grade level and the type of assessment that you want. Okay, I think that is it for the Edu AI. We're going to move on to my second one, which is Magic School. This one I use the most. As you can see, I've already favorited a few of my favorite tools to use on here. I'm just going to go ahead and use these. If you scroll down, there are 52 different ones. There are a bunch of new ones that they just came out with. You can also go by subject, planning, content questions, intellectual prep, communication, community tools, and student support. So let's go ahead and look at lesson plan generator. Okay, so this is similar to the Eduaide. You need to go ahead and select the grade level, what you're teaching. This could be the topic, the standard, or like a description. I'm just going to go ahead and do additional content, standards. It needs to be Common Core State Standard. And then let's click generate. You can make these all as elaborate or as big as you want. The AI is pretty good at filling in the blanks. And again, just like with the Eduaide, it breaks it down by section, really nice materials, all of that. And then at the very end, it will tell you exactly what standards are met by the assignment above listed. The only difference that I've noticed between Magic School and Eduaide is we don't get that nifty kind of further content like we did on Eduaide, which is one area where I will say that Magic School is a little inferior to. I still use it more though, so it's not something that I've noticed really deters me from the tool. I will say the last one I am going to show you will be under communication because it's going to go hand in hand with the ChatGPT. And again, it's kind of how I did my newsletter for the November newsletter. So if we go into class newsletter tool, I can go ahead and enter, okay, important announcement. Okay, anything else this week? And then any additional details, if there is, go ahead and enter them, hit generate. As I used this to create my newsletter article, my kiddo looked at me and goes, Auntie, this doesn't sound anything like you. 100% correct. So I went ahead and copied the entire thing that it sent me, and I went to our third tool, which is ChatGPT. It's important to note that for this tool, there is a paid version. It's like $20 a month, and it just faster response. It deals with pictures. It has a few more features that I haven't noticed I need yet, so I'm not willing to pay the 20 bucks a month. The GPT 3.5 is working absolutely fine for me. So how did I take the article and make it sound a little less generic and stiff? I came here and I went to the chat and I went rephrase quote, and I pasted the entire article. And then I told it to sound like it is from an elementary librarian. Enter. And so it took everything in those quote marks, the entire article that was written, and it is rewriting it to sound less stiff and a little bit more flamboyant in as it's writing. I'm just going to tell you, it has also noticed from my previous posts that I have now cleared that I have a propensity for using emojis. So the actual newsletter article that it wrote for me that I then proofread and edited was just full of emojis. This one is not, thank goodness. I don't have to edit around that, but it will do stuff like that. It will also italicize words that it wants to emphasize and bold and all of that fun stuff for headers. It's great. It's relatively intuitive, but again, it's a machine and it is fallible. So I can then go through and I can highlight, copy and paste, and then further edit. And I mean, just looking at the front line, the like entrance of this newsletter article, the first one was, "Dear families, I hope this letter finds you all in good health and high spirits." That's generically nice, but compared to "Dear families, greeting to alls, I trust this note finds each of you in a robust health and buoyant moods." I mean, that is just sickeningly sweet, as my kiddo put it. So, I use ChatGPT for that, primarily like rephrasing things to make them sound a little more warm and well put together. But I also use it for more of that back and forth brainstorming. I'm stuck and I need a different perspective kind of planning. Um, it's really nice for that. And again, ChatGPT, just like the previous two we talked about, will go ahead and store so that it can learn and better be used in the future. Um, you can do a lesson plan in here as well, just really briefly. So I can just give it as broad or as vague or as detailed a prompt as I want. It will go ahead and it will break it down, similar to how our previous two have done it, just maybe not as pretty. Again, and I will say this until the cows come home, always make sure that you are then going through these and making sure that one, they are accurate, and two, that they are still reflect your teaching style in them, because I have come across sections of these AI generated lesson plans that missed a subtle nuance that as a person I would have included, but as a computer, it did not. But that can change the trajectory of the lesson and the learning. Still very important to go through and tweak these lesson plans because they are not infallible. And then, yeah, so it can do a lesson plan just as easily as the other ones. It's just not as pretty. Um, but again, it will still go ahead and it will tell you what standards are being met, learning objectives, materials. It's great. I combined these three tools have saved me so much time. I've utilized them with my brainstorming for my classes that I'm currently taking. And again, for library, for kindergarten music, for communications, I use this for announcements on my class dojo. Simple things that I really want to I use this to make sure that those communications are professional, but warm and very concise sounding. And I think these tools are really great for that. Um, Go ahead, look through them at your leisure, find out how you can utilize them if you want to utilize them in your classroom. They're great time savers. And if nothing else, again, they're great for brainstorming. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I have discovered I quite enjoy these tools and that they're not all bad. I know we had a discussion about how they can be used for nefarious means, but I think if they can be used to help you all do your job without overtaxing you, I think that that is a silver lining. And I really want to make sure that you guys have these tools to help with your workload. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, happy learning.